Hello guys, welcome to our channel. Today we are going to build a racing quad with a frame from rcworks.com, the Portuguese company. So this is a 4mm carbon fiber plate. It's a unibody design. It has these side reinforcements that makes it very strong. I'm going to put the screws for the FC. I'm going to mount the screws so that we can mount the flight controller. So now I'm going to place the plastic standoffs to mount the SE first. I'm going to mount the SE on the bottom. I had to make a little cut in the plastic mount so that it wouldn't touch a transistor that's on the bottom of the SE. So for the top part of the frame we have these three pieces. They are from carbon fiber, 1.5mm. You have two side plates and one top plate that bind together. We only have to join the parts and put the aluminium standoffs to complete the top deck. The aluminium standoffs are 30mm and I used steel screws to make it stronger, but if you want you can put aluminium screws, make it a bit lighter. So this is what the top plate looks like when it's finished. All we need to do now is to insert it in the bottom plate and use the 4 screws to tighten it up. We also have this 3D printed canopy. It's printed in a flexible filament so that it doesn't break easily, and it can protect your camera and your receiver really well. Okay, so now we are going to place the ESC and flight controller. I have already soldered a battery lead to the ESC and also a condenser to prevent power spikes. This ESC from Racerstar has a 4-in-1 built-in ESC. It has a small plug to connect directly to this flight controller for the motor inputs. The flight controller I'm using is a Omnibus F3 from Banggood. It's not the original one, but it works fine. I have already soldered the wires for the camera and the VTX, also for the buzzer, the power supply to the flight controller, and also for the radio. To power the camera and the VTX you have to place a small shunt in the flight controller to select if you want to supply 5 volts or supply the battery current. So in this case I placed a shunt to provide the direct voltage from the LiPo battery. Like I said before, this ESC has a small component, a small transistor, that if we don't cut the plastic standoff it will be crushed. So we have to cut the standoffs to correctly position the ESC. The plastic standoffs to mount the flight controller, they are a bit big, so we have to round them up at the bottom. We have to cut a bit of plastic also, so that when we mount the standoff on top of the ESC, we don't crush the MOSFETs. So this SE comes with this small plug. It's a 6-pin plug, 4 for the motors, 1 for voltage, 1 for ground. The SE doesn't have a back-in, so the 5 volts doesn't output any power. The plug connects directly to the flight controller. So to make this work correctly, I had to change the wire order in one of the plugs because the motors didn't spin in the correct order. So the only motor that matches the configuration on Betaflight is motor 4. Where we were supposed to have motor 3, have motor 1. Where we were supposed to have motor 2, we have motor 3. And in the place of motor 1, we have motor 2. So we have to change the wires to make it work correctly. So now that we have the ESC and the flight controller mounted, we are ready to place the remaining components. For the motors, I choose the Racer Star BR2205. These aren't great motors, but they are very good for the price. They are pretty inexpensive to replace in case you break one. For the VTX, I'm going to use the King Kong switchable. It has 25 milliwatts and 600 milliwatts. The camera I'm going to use, it's a Foxeer HS 1177. It's everyone knows this camera, it's pretty good. This is a receiver that comes with Turns G Evolution. I've removed the plastic case so it would be smaller and easy to install. This is some wire mesh I got from eBay. It's called Shack Moods wire mesh. It has 4 millimeters. I'm going to use it to wrap the motor wires so the installation will be a bit more cleaner. I'm going to use a little bit of shrink tube in the wire mesh to prevent it from shedding. After cutting the cables from the ESC, I'm going to apply a little solder in the end of the cable so that I could direct solder the motor wires to these ones. I'm going to apply some solder to the motor wires also, so that I could bind them to the ESC wires. So with the motor in place, I'm going to put the King Kong motor protections. Now we have the 4 motors in place with the wires and the motor guards. I'm going to mount the camera in the top plate. There are 2 holes to mount the camera. I'm going to use the bottom one. With the camera in place, we are now going to place the VTX. I'm going to apply some double-sided tape and place it under the top plate. Now I'm going to use some cable ties to firmly secure the VTX in place. With the camera and VTX in place, we are now going to connect the cables that were already soldered to the flight controller, so that we can have OSD through the flight controller. Now with the top plate in place, I'm going to place the screws to mount it to the bottom plate. Everything is in place now, so we are only missing the receiver. I'm going to wrap it in electrical tape to protect it, since I removed the case. I'm going to connect the receiver cable that I already set to S-bus mode, and I'm going to place the receiver in the top plate, and it's going to be protected by the canopy. Now all we need to do is apply this small brace to lock the canopy in place, and we're ready to go.